if you're not actually bad at managing your time? What if your body has learned that everything is urgent? What if the reason that you can't slow down isn't because you don't know how to rest, but because slowing down doesn't feel safe? Welcome to Regulate and Rise, where regulation is the path to liberation. I'm Liana, founder of the Emancipation Frequency, and this is Tracy, founder of Ruha Rising. Uh, Tonight we're talking about something almost all of us experience: time. Not time management, not productivity hacks, but what happens when the pace of life starts becoming the pace of your nervous system. So think about how often we say, I don't have time, or I'm running late, or I've got so much to do. I need to hurry. I'll rest when everything is done. And somehow there's always something else: another email, another notification, another appointment, another deadline, another thing we're supposed to accomplish. And eventually, we don't just have busy lives, we start living in a state of hurry. But what happens when your body starts experiencing ordinary life like an emergency? That's what we're exploring today. What happens when time itself becomes a nervous system stressor? So let's get into it, Tracy. Are we busy or are we living in urgency? And there is a difference. How do we know when we're simply living a busy life versus when our nervous system has actually started living in a state of chronic urgency? What's the difference there?
Could you repeat the question, please? When you're living in a state of urgency versus technical difficulties, I apologize, folks.
Okay. How do we know when we're simply living a busy life versus when our nervous system has actually started living in a state of chronic urgency? What's the difference between busyness and chronic urgency?
You can still be busy, have a busy life going from task to task to task, but not be in a state of chronic urgency. You'll know that if when the time comes that you get a little pause or you get a break somewhere in your day, your evening, and you have this quiet space or time to do something, if you're always feeling the pressure, I got to get this done, I got to do something else, I can't sit here with this, I'm not comfortable, that's how you know it has taken over, the busyness of life has taken over your nervous system. You're not able to regulate and slow down when you do have those opportunities. So that's kind of how you can tell is in those moments. That's one way to tell.
Yeah, because we've absorbed so many cultural messages like faster equals better, or busy equals
Mm-hmm.
productive, or more,
Mm-hmm.
the more we have equals successful, and
Mm-hmm.
rest equals something you earn, or stillness equals wasting time.
Right.
And some examples of that are like these wretched notifications we get on our phone. Uh, I think I heard yours go off a little while ago.
You
I know
did.
my immediate responses. Everybody wants an immediate response, or we think we have to immediately respond.
Mm-hmm.
Back to back to back to back appointments. I know you can relate to that, Tracy.
Ooh, we'll get into that later.
Hustle
Not in my
culture.
business, but go ahead. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes, hustle
hustle
culture.
culture is one because I played into that for a number of years of my life until I learned better.
Mm.
Productivity culture. Multitasking.
Mhm.
I used to call myself the multitasker extraordinaire until I got burnt out. Social media, constant deadlines, and always thinking about what's next. Gosh, guilty as charged. What does your body learn when almost everything around you says, hurry, hurry, Harry?
You learn, and this has nothing to do with trauma. Well, it can, but you learn to live in a constant state of tension. You can't relax because there's always something to do. Your mind is racing, your body's tense. When your body's in a constant state of tension, that affects all of you, your stomach, your heart rate, your breathing, your head, everything, your energy, your joy, your mental health, your spirituality. It affects everything. You learn just to live in a constant state of doing. I can't stop, I can't slow down, which can in turn lead to many other things. I can't sleep because my mind won't stop. I don't know how to slow down. Um, I don't eat well. It's like a snowball effect. I'm
Mm-hmm.
tense. I have to always be doing. Therefore, I'm not feeling well. My heart's racing. I'm not sleeping well. I'm not eating well because I'm always having to hurry. Um, you're just in a constant state, constant ball of tension.
Oh my gosh, I can relate to that because I feel like I have spent my entire life in that mode. And sometimes it feels like when I lay down at night to go to sleep, I'll lay there and I'll think, how in the heck did I get through that day? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, literally, and it's like putting the brakes on and having a Mack truck slam into the back of you. It's like, oh my God. And sometimes I just want to cry
Mm-hmm.
because it feels overwhelming because I didn't allow myself to think about it in the moment.
Right.
But when I allowed myself to lay down and rest, it was
Mm-hmm.
like kind of overwhelming. That's when it caught up with me. So how can someone be sitting on their couch with absolutely nothing threatening happening while their body is still behaving like, we got to go, we got to go?
We're living in everybody else's space. We're living in everyone else's culture. So we're always under pressure to, it's almost like we have these expectations. We're always expected to do something else. So we want to sit, we want to relax, but we always feel like we got to go, we got to do something else. There's so much stuff crammed into our brains with this busyness and this urgency that there's always something there that needs to be done. You can always pull a thought out of your head. I got to do this. I got to do this. Ooh, I forgot to do that. I forgot to set my calendar. I forgot to call this client. I forgot to do. There's always, I got to go to the store. I got to get gas. There's always something to do. So it's hard for your body to stop. When your brain's going, that affects how your nervous system reacts, which affects your body and what it does. It doesn't know how to slow down. I always have to be going. I don't feel right not doing something. I don't feel good not doing something.
Is that a physiological response of your nervous system that your body kind of develops like a habit of being in, like hypervigilant, or I call my I don't, God knows I'm sensitive to,
Mm-hmm.
I call myself ADHD because I literally feel like I can't stop sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's challenging. And like even sitting on the sofa,
Mm-hmm.
you can be physically safe and still physiologically conditioned for urgency, which was me. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'd sit down and I'd start thinking about, Okay, got to get up and go do that. Got to get up and go get a drink. Got to get up and go make some food. Got to get up and go check this. Got to get up and go check that. Didn't get that done.
Mhm.
Let me go out. Let me go out to the car and get. And literally, I would miss the whole episode or game or whatever because I was in constant doing mode. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. So let's talk about when hurry becomes
Mhm.
a body
Mhm.
state. What
Mhm.
does rushing usually? Okay, this is what rushing actually looks and feels like: shallow breathing,
Mhm.
tight chest, clenched jaw, raised shoulders. I'm feeling every
Mhm.
last one of these right now. Muscle tension, faster movements, irritability, trouble focusing, eating quickly. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I eat and swallow my food whole, literally. Uh, Difficulty sitting still, feeling like you're
Mhm.
always behind. And sometimes you
Mhm.
don't even recognize the stress. You don't recognize it as stress. You just call it, you just think that's how you are. That's how I
Mhm.
am. So, what if rushing isn't just something you're doing? What if it's something
Mhm.
your body is experiencing? How do our bodies somatically get to that state? How do we create that? And we don't even know that we're doing it.
The pressures of society, the culture we live in, we are taught. I'm going to go back to ADHD. Um, I never saw so much ADHD being diagnosed or people saying, I think I'm ADHD, until I noticed the switch in my life when we went from, okay, we have a sense of completion at work, we finished this task and that task, we can go home. Laptops and computers were invented. We're not allowed to turn our brains off. We're not allowed to slow down. We're not allowed. Our
Mm-hmm.
bosses dictate it. Uh, and we can't settle down. We just feel like we always have to be on the go. And multitasking is always presented as, oh, you're great and you're productive and you're meeting these numbers. That's killing you. You don't know it is until you start having health issues. You know,
Mm-hmm.
as much as I regulate, when I have to live in a system at work, a culture, an environment, not in my business that I do, but in the part time that I do as a counselor, when you have to live in someone else's system, that fights against what your body naturally is supposed to do. I learned in graduate school that we all have our own sense of time. And my uncle, as I was growing up, used to tease me and say, are we in Tracy time? Because I just get lost in the moment. Forget multitasking. I'm going to enjoy the moment. We've forgotten how to enjoy the moment
Yeah.
because I might have gotten off topic, but I'm coming back. We've forgotten how to enjoy the moment and sit in the moment because we are so busy doing what society expects us to do, what our bosses, that includes our bosses, our families. You're not allowed to sit. You're not allowed to be idle, or that means you're wasting your time, you're wasting your energy. You need to
Mm-hmm.
show me something. Show me what you did the last hour. Show me your homework. Show me this. Show me that. There's always something we're expected to prove, and somebody's expectations we're expected to live up to. And that creates illness, mental, physical, spiritual. um, Again, when the wiring we have is really wired, we're supposed to have breaks in our day. Our bodies are not wired to go like we have batteries inside of us.
Yeah.
We need to recharge. We need to be allowed that space. Or we just, again, in our bodies, we got the tight chest, the stomach hurting, the diarrhea, the constipation, the headaches, the migraines, the even pain in your shoulders, because as Liana pointed out, one of the signs that you're tense and feeling like you have to live in this sense of urgency, you don't know that you're doing this with your shoulders. If you are constantly clenching your fist, like you're clenching this muscle, that's eventually going to hurt. And so we don't know we're living in this state of urgency until we slow down and go, oops, my shoulders are tense. I'm noticing they're up here. Let me relax them. Then you notice the pain, and then you go, ooh, I need to do something about that. So we get into these states where we are just big ball of tension.
Hmm.
Because if you have to rush, you have to have that energy. You're always moving, you're always moving, moving, moving. So you're always tense. And you
Yeah,
need to find times to slow your body down and allow to live outside the system, outside the expectations.
I agree with you though on computers and smartphones and all those things. It kind of ticks me off how that has literally taken people's attention span and
Mm-hmm.
kind of dumbed it down into seconds and
Mm-hmm.
milliseconds. Because I remember when we used to write, we
Mm-hmm.
used to write way back in my day.
Back in the old days.
We
Yeah.
used to write, and that allowed us a thought process, a thinking, a way to think our thoughts out and create.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we started, everything became push button. It's
Yes.
like the world took off in hyperspeed, and we haven't
Mm-hmm.
turned back. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's how we've internalized that, and that's how our lives operate on a daily basis. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like 95% of the people out there can say they experience this on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of chronic urgency, how might somebody recognize that in their body if they don't consciously feel anxious? How can they tell?
You can tell if you sometimes it's hard to tell because you're living in that state of urgency, of busyness, of doing, so you're not slowing down enough to go, what is my body doing? You need to be able to um, slow down, think, notice what your body's doing. So if you're in a moment where you feel like, I gotta hurry up and get this done, I have a deadline, my next appointment's coming up, I'm not ready, running out of time, you gotta be able to slow down and go, okay, let me take a breather. Those short pauses can, I'm getting into other things, but those short pauses are needed, or else you're, again, living in a constant state of tension, anxiety. Your body's going to read that muscle tension as there's a threat. I must get this done or else. So it's going to start interpreting as your tension as a threat, a
Mhm.
danger. I must protect myself. I must stay safe. I must get this done. Um, so basically, you got to find ways to slow your body down, or you don't always know you're anxious until you actually stop to move to the next task.
Mhm.
And then everything can build up, and you realize I'm anxious. I've been holding on to this. I need to slow down. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to take a break, but I can't. So it's in the pauses that you notice what was unconsciously going on in your body, the tension, the muscle tension, the chest tightness, your stomach hurting. It's in those pauses that you can go, wait a minute, why is it doing this? Why is my body
Mhm.
doing this?
And your body will tell on you in a heartbeat. So think about, I'm going to invite our listeners to think about the phrase,
Mhm.
I'm running out of time. don't change anything, just notice. How does your body respond to that phrase? I'm running out of time. Do you feel it in your chest, your belly, your throat, your jaw, maybe, or your hands, or your shoulders? The body can experience urgency before the mind consciously identifies anything as urgent.
Mhm.
So the problem isn't always time.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the difference between clock time and nervous system time, because those are two
Mhm.
completely different things. Clock time is your external reality.
Mhm.
Think about the clock you can see on the wall. You have appointments, you
Mhm.
have deadlines to meet, you have work, got to get to work, got to get to school, and all the millions of responsibilities that you have throughout the day versus nervous system time. And nervous system time is your internal
Mhm.
experience of time. 5 minutes in your nervous system clock can feel endless, it can feel
Mhm.
threatening, rushed, it
Mhm.
can feel spacious, it can feel peaceful. It's not
Mhm.
always bad, but it depends on the state that we're in, depends on what
Mhm.
state our nervous system is in.
Mhm.
So, Tracy, can we honor clock time without allowing clock time to dictate our internal state?
You can. Um, that doesn't mean you're not thinking about what you have to do. Um, it's that sense of time I mentioned earlier. We all have our unique sense of time, and we don't always have the chance to get to know what that is, to honor it, to experience it. But you can honor clock time. For example, one example would be I had like 10 minutes between sessions one time. One time, just one. And I sat in my chair, I set a timer, I meditated, just focused on my breathing, the sounds, the peaceful quiet. And I got lost in that sense of time in that 10 minutes. And it was so refreshing. It felt like I had been doing that for an hour and that I actually took a nap. So you can have a time frame that you can do things. You just have to allow your mind to let go and let your body experience that sense of time without the tension, without that feeling of, I have to get to the next thing. You have to allow it. So the answer is you can um, honor your clock time and your internal state.
Yeah, because we're asking, can I meet the demands of my life without
Mhm.
experiencing every demand as an emergency?
Mhm.
And there's a distinction there. And again, like Tracy said, you got to be aware. You got to take those moments, those pauses in between time. Now that we're helping you create awareness in this area,
Mhm.
to think about, feel your body. You'll feel it. Believe me, I have felt it all day today,
Mhm.
today in particular. So, from a somatic perspective, Tracy, how does our nervous system state,
Mhm.
influence our experience of time? Can you unpack that a little for us?
Mhm. If you're in a peaceful, if you're rested, regulated, and ready to rise, and you're in that peaceful state, you can experience time differently. It comes at you differently. You're not rushed. You're able to get things done in the time frame you have because you're not thinking of the future. You're not thinking of the past. You're just right here in this moment. You're being mindful. If you're in a state of, if feeling threatened, for example, at work, if I don't get this done by this time or see this many people and this many appointments in a row, do you know how hard it is to relax and to regulate when you're constantly, and you're getting that? You're not just telling yourself that. This is where the culture and the system comes in. You're not just telling yourself that. You got emails, you got notifications, you got Teams, Microsoft Teams messages, you've got emails. I might have already said that. You're constantly getting notified. You got people knocking on your door. Did you do this? Did you do that? Did you? It is very hard if you're feeling threatened and cornered. That's like feeling a cornering someone, cornering a rat that's going to jump out and get you. Um, you're not able to relax. You're not able to experience time as it is. You're just constantly focused on the clock and having to get things done. Um, you might go full force into getting things done, or if you're in fight or flight or the flight phase state, you're going to shut down. You're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to get sick. It's not going to work. So you got to, the state does determine how you experience time. You can't sit in that pocket of time and enjoy it and do what you need to do and get it done without feeling rushed if you're feeling threatened from all sides and in a constant state of tension.
I think about the people that work. I mean, this is a constant, like 24/7. It can be, especially
Hmm.
if you can't sleep. And then you've got the people who are on call 24/7. Um,
Hmm.
it can be daunting to go through that. And our bodies were not made for that. And it just shows you how much the system dysregulates our nervous system, almost everything about the system, from
Hmm.
having to be at work at a certain time. I remember I had to I had to get up at like 4:30 in the morning, get my kids ready. I had to drop them off at Latchkey at school.
Hmm.
Then I had to drive uh, 40, almost 50 miles to work. Then I had to work under that pressure. Then I had to come and, do the reverse, drive back home, pick up my kids from Latchkey, go home, cook dinner, and then help with homework. I had zero time. And I know that I suffered, and I know, honestly, my kids suffered at times because I was overwhelmed and
Hmm.
I could not regulate, and I didn't even know at the time about the nervous system and how I was so far out of whack.
Hmm.
But it makes sense now when I'm looking back on it. It That was challenging. And again,
Hmm.
I know I'm not the only one. Single parents uh, do it every day. The ones that have to work and oh my gosh, it's a hot mess.
And
But
yeah,
oh no, go ahead.
don't forget the sports practices and
Oh, I
all this
forgot
other
about that.
stuff. And I know back when our children were growing up, you had practices. You didn't have all these club sports and traveling teams. It is so much more intense.
Oh my God.
Our nervous systems need connection. And when we're constantly going from one practice to that one, and this and that and this and that, and you can't settle down. You don't really connect. You don't really learn how to effectively regulate. People may disagree with me, but there's so much in there that if you are going to regulate, you got to work around that. You got to find connection. And it's hard when you're constantly pressured to be somewhere and do something. It's hard to stop, do for yourself, connect with others. It's kind of like blown out of the water sometimes because there's so much busyness that we're told we have to do.
Exactly. That's why that meditation time or prayer time or whatever you take,
Mhm.
uh, first thing in the morning and even before bed at night, is so important, because sometimes that's the only time during the day that you are in the present moment.
Mhm.
It's extremely challenging.
Mhm.
So how can we distinguish between something that genuinely needs to happen right now from my body believes this needs to happen now? How do we distinguish between that?
It depends on the situation. If it's a work situation and you don't do something, you just have to do it, or you have to set boundaries. So distinguishing is hard as far
Yeah.
as my body believes this needs to happen now, but it does need to happen now. We might
Yeah.
notice that particular thing in the moments that we have those pauses and we're like, oh, I got 5 minutes. Your body might be going, we need to do something, we need to do something. Or your body might be going, no, we don't.
Mhm.
So it's in those pauses where we have to figure out, do I really need to do this, or is my body just under so much pressure I can't relax and I feel like I have to do something else? And if
Mhm.
we feel like we have to do something else in our bodies, then that's telling our minds, oops, racing thoughts, racing thoughts. There's something we got to do. There's something we're missing. It's just a constant mind body effect um, that happens there.
Mhm. So, like, a deadline can be real without
Mhm.
requiring your body to experience it as danger. And
Yes.
boy, we really have to pull ourselves back
Mhm.
in order to see that. It's like peeling back the onion
Mhm.
and really taking a look at our lives, and how we feel mentally, emotionally, and physically, body, mind, spirit.
Mhm.
And, because once we tune into that, we can really see how our daily lives affect us in terms of the
Mhm.
busyness and the hurriedness.
Mhm.
So I'm going to invite our listeners to ask yourself a couple of things. When I'm running late, what happens to me? What happens to your body? What happens
Mhm.
to your mind? How do you feel? How did you feel even when I asked that question? Did you tense up? Okay, next is when I have too much to do, what happens to me?
Mhm.
Do you fly off the handle? Do you get irritable? Do you start doing things at warp speed? How do you feel? How are you reacting in those moments? When someone says we have plenty of time, like if a friend of mine will come over and it's moving slow as molasses and say, "Oh, we have plenty of time." Do I believe them? Most of the time, me, no. Do you guys? Do you believe them? And when I finally have nothing I have to do, can I actually relax? Or do I immediately find something else I need to accomplish?
Mhm.
Does any of that sound like you guys? And what does my body seem to believe will happen if I slow down? Have you ever sat and thought about that? So sometimes our relationship with time reveals our relationship with safety, and safety has everything to do with the nervous system, with regulation.
Mhm.
So, why does slowing down, let's examine this, why does slowing down feel unsafe for some of us? Why can someone desperately want rest and then at the same time feel uncomfortable the moment they actually get it. Because stillness can create space for some things that might make us a little bit uncomfortable, like thoughts,
Mhm.
emotions, anxiety, memories, guilt, unfinished tasks, feelings that we've been out running. I know if I'm busy, I don't have to think about anything. My feelings about a particular situation. In fact, I think I dug into things deeper and just
Mhm.
kept going and going and going on the hamster wheel
Mhm.
because I didn't want to think about things that were going on in my life that I didn't want to confront
Mhm.
right away or I was procrastinating on. So let's talk about productivity as protection because I don't think some of us have thought about that either.
Mhm.
Sometimes we're not busy because we love productivity. We're busy because busyness gives us somewhere to go,
Mhm.
something to focus on, something to do, something to fix, something to accomplish,
Mhm.
something that keeps us from or feeling what might emerge if we stop.
Mhm.
So, from your somatic perspective, Tracy, with your vast array of experience,
Mhm.
why can stillness feel threatening or uncomfortable for some people? And how can busyness become a strategy that the nervous system uses for
Mhm.
safety, like
Mhm.
to manage uncomfortable internal things we've got going on?
So, stillness can feel threatening or uncomfortable. You just hit it on the head with everything you just mentioned. When we sit still with ourselves, what happens? Thoughts come up. Sometimes they're pleasant, sometimes they're not. Emotions come up that we don't know have been sitting there. Uh, Memories come up in our thoughts, anxiety, guilt. We're thinking about what do we need to do. It just can be uncomfortable to be still because we don't want to feel all of that. We don't want to think about things we've been through. And a lot of times when I'm trying to help people work through things, they're not comfortable with being still and not being productive because they don't want to think about the traumas they've been through, uh, what they have to do next. Thoughts can pop up in our heads, when we're still and relaxing. You don't deserve to rest. You didn't finish this. You didn't finish that. That productivity monster. Some of us grew up with, if you're, if, what's that saying? Idle hands are the work of evil or of the
Yeah.
devil. If you're sitting idly, you're not doing anything and you're not worth anything. You must be doing something else you're going to get into trouble. So, it's there's so many things involved in that stillness from what our voices from our upbringings are telling us to even some of the churches we go to. If you're not on this committee or that committee, you must come and devote all of your free time. You know, you're not allowed to relax, or there's this guilt feeling. And that's not just religion. I don't mean to put that out there, but even at work, even in our families, if you didn't sweep your room, or you didn't make your bed, or you didn't do your laundry, you're not productive. You didn't get your chores done. We don't always talk about when we deserve to rest because we're made to feel you're not allowed to rest.
Hmm.
It's not something we need to earn, it's not something we need to be earning. That is something your body needs. frequently in order to recharge, in order to be okay, in order not to break down and get sick and end up in the hospital, get diseases. It leads to all of that.
Yes.
So we need to learn to relax in the stillness, in the pauses, in the moments we have, and not be told you need to be doing something, because then that makes us not able to relax. That conditions our nervous system to be in that constant state of urgency, tension. You can't sit down, you can't pause, you can't do this, you can't take care of yourself. Self care is selfish. All of that comes into play. So we're conditioned not to be allowed to rest, not to be allowed to have those still moments and those quiet moments in our life, those peaceful moments. You have to earn it. No,
Mhm.
you need it, or your body will break down and your mind may snap, if if that's a term you want to use. But we can only take so much. Our bodies are not made for urgency and constant doing.
Mhm. And a lot of times, like I was mentioning earlier, you do. I know I was doing it to avoid feelings.
Hmm.
Although I didn't think about that in the time, but when I was, I think I kind of did, but when I really look back on it, I was avoiding a lot of things by just
Hmm.
doing for other people, people pleasing, uh, do, go, uh, constant. And sometimes I think when we're not in motion, people think that we're lazy, you
Yes.
know. And I'm going to share this with you too. Like I'm such a hyper person. Just I've trained myself over the years, which I'm slowly pulling myself out of now because when I see my grandson, he and I have thought about this so many times. He's very methodical when he moves. He's not in a rush. He's not in a hurry. He's slow and he means it. And I don't, and it's not a bad thing. And I'm sitting here going, why doesn't he go? Why didn't he hurry up? Like I'm stepping on his heels. But then at the same time, I'm thinking that's the way I need to move, and how peaceful that must be able to move in that respect, with without urgency, without anxiety.
Hmm.
It's something to look at. When we look at our, oh man, I could get into this all day. I learned so much from him when he's from a baby on, because
Hmm.
I saw how to breathe when he was a baby. I breathe in short, shallow. You know, I can't breathe sometimes, and I watched him breathe all the way fully from his belly, all the way up out his nose, and
Hmm.
I learned that that's the way you're supposed to breathe, to be present. I learned those things from him. I learned from him every day just by observing.
Hmm.
That's a way to regulate. Look at your kids, or if your kids don't fall into that, look at someone else's kids, because they're gateways to the world. I'm telling you, you will learn so much about yourself and how to be present in the moment, how to play, how to just be. We need to go back to just being. So I'm sorry, I got a little bit off topic there, but sometimes busyness can look like functioning while actually being a form of avoidance. So can we actually teach the body that we have time?
Hmm.
Now this is, we've already done this. Now let's unwind that and
Hmm.
give ourselves time.
Hmm.
Tracy, can you go through the tools that will
Hmm.
help us
Hmm.
do this?
So one tool is the 10% slowdown, just something you can do. Give yourself permission to slow down somewhere in your day, not just one time. You can start with one time, but as often as you can. There's plenty of time in those pauses to do something to slow down your body, your thinking at least 10%. So you might walk, take a walk. You might make coffee. I like to sit out on the balcony in the morning, drink coffee. It's peaceful. You don't have cars driving around. The birds are out in the trees. It seems like you're in the country when you're not, but just that small moment of drinking that cup of coffee, um, getting dressed. You can relish in the moment of that time. Slow down. Don't just throw it on. Put it on. Make yourself look good. I'm gonna go out. Look how good I look.
Okay.
Be proud. Be proud of that. Take your time. Make yourself look good, like you feel. Help yourself feel good by dressing how you want and making yourself feel good. Washing the dishes. Do that slower. That's an activity that we don't all like to do, but it can be relaxing. Enjoy that warm water feel as you're washing the dishes off, the suds on your hands. Just think about different things in that mindful moment that you can do with any activity. Um, let's see. The next thing you might be able to do, if you want to pay attention to what your body's doing, just experiment with slowing down somewhere in your day. So the next tool can be the transition pause. Like I explained earlier, I sat in my chair for 10 minutes and I just let the peace, let the quiet, had my door closed, enjoyed the moment. I almost fell asleep, but I felt so relaxed when that little timer went off and I had to go get my next client to see for counseling. I was very relaxed and ready to go. So just that pause. So instead of going straight from, for example, one client for counseling to the next one, take a pause, take a breather, take a breath, feel your feet on the floor. I turn my music on and on my computer or my phone and I just dance for maybe a minute. I just find a song that I enjoy just so I can move for a minute. Sometimes is all I have, or 2 minutes. Drop your shoulders, relax your shoulders, just because they might have been tense because you're rushing through your day. Just do some up and down shoulder, raise, drop. Look around. What's around you? Look out your window. Step outside of your office. Step outside of your office building if that's where you are, and just enjoy the sunshine for 2 minutes. That's all you have to do. Pause and then go to the next thing. Um, take 3 slow breaths. That's a real simple thing you can do. Just 3 slow breaths. And then say, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's see. Another thing, you can change the sentence. Tool number 3, instead of saying, I don't have time, experiment with or try to say things differently to change your thinking and your mindset. I don't have the capacity for that right now. I've been told many times, because I live in my Tracy time, as my uncle said, you need to, your time management. And sometimes I honestly had to say, there is no more time to manage. Do you understand? You're telling me to fit all this stuff in there. There is no more time to manage. And people need to understand that, but they don't. But you have to understand and be able to say, I really don't have the ability to do that right now. My energy's low, whatever the case is. Be able to say that, if not just to yourself. So you take that pressure off yourself. If somebody's coming at you, you can say, my boundary, I don't have time to do that right now. Let's see. Another thing. So explore what you feel differently when you think differently, when you look at time differently, and change the sentence, change the story going through your mind. Um, Notice what you really have the capacity to do. Notice when you're overworked and can't really do it. And that way you won't feel like you're fighting the clock necessarily. You can honestly look at, what do I really need in this moment? What does my body need? Take those pauses.
Yes,
Take those
you got
pauses.
to take your time back. You got to take control of your life. Take your time back, because everyone will take your time if you don't set boundaries.
Yes.
Boundaries are key. And I don't care if you're at work, if you're at home, whatever it is, other
Hmm.
people have to respect those boundaries. You
Hmm.
got to put your foot down in order to stay alive and kicking, because otherwise it's just going to take over your life. And like you said earlier, it can create disease and heart attacks, and because our bodies weren't made to constantly go go go.
Hmm.
So ask yourself, where am I creating urgency that isn't actually necessary? What truly requires speed and what doesn't?
Hmm.
Where have I confused productivity with worth?
Ding
What
ding.
happens to me? What happens inside me when I'm not accomplishing something? What would enough look like today? Even if you have a to-do list, make your to-do
Hmm.
list. When you're done, you're done. Don't add anything else. Make that your boundary.
Hmm.
Unless it's an emergency, like having to go to school when your kids tell you that you are having to go to the store when they tell you they need 20 cupcakes for class for tomorrow.
That's right.
I had to do that many times. And where could I create more space between stimulus and response? So, Tracy, if somebody wanted to begin changing their relationship with urgency this week, right now, today, what would you invite them to notice in their body?
Let's see. I would invite them to notice, what is my, just do a quick body scan. That takes less than a minute. Notice how you're breathing. Is your breathing getting stuck? Is it fast? Is it slow? Notice the quality of your breathing. Notice, what does my head feel like? Is it hurting? Do I have pain anywhere in my body? Do I feel tension anywhere? Am I relaxed anywhere? What do I need to do to relax so that I don't feel like I always have to rush around? So that I can get things, you can get things accomplished without having to race around if you're able to regulate and notice what your body is doing, which in turn can help you notice what it needs to be able to slow down, to be able to relax. So I would invite you to do this, the tools we just went through. Make your say your sentences differently. Instead of a negative way of looking at time, I don't have time. I really can't do that right now. And I'm accepting, this is what my body needs. This is my boundary. Set those boundaries. Take your pauses instead of rushing from one activity to another. Sing a song between activities. Take a walk between activities. Step outside. Whatever you can do to practice a pause between activities. That will slow your body down so you're not constantly feeling wired, literally wired on Red Bull or whatever, to keep going, keep going, keep going. Slow down. Take a deep breath. Notice.
So, the goal isn't to eliminate urgency, It's to become conscious enough to know when urgency is useful and when it has simply become your default state.
Mhm.
This is an extremely important conversation today. So Tracy, you want to lead us in the closing integration?
Okay, let's see. So, as we always do, get still. We can't see you. Do what you need to do to be comfortable in your body. Take a breath. You can put your hand on your heart if you want to. If your body's telling you to do that, to take that warming breath into your hand where your heart is. Feel your feet on the floor or wherever they are. Notice where you're supported. If your feet aren't on the floor, are you laying down? Where's my body? Where are my touch points? On the chair, on the sofa, on the pillow. Just notice how your body feels, where it's relaxing into in the position that you're in. And then ask, where am I rushing when there's actually no emergency? Where am I rushing to? And what does my body experience when I give myself permission to take my time, to slow down, to take that pause? I'm not going to run to you. I'm coming. Slow down. And finally, what if I don't have to race through my life to prove that I'm living it? Slow down. Racing means you miss something. So give yourself permission to live.
Thank you, Tracy. So maybe regulation isn't always about getting ourselves calm enough to survive the life that we're living. Maybe regulation also means asking, is the pace of my life compatible with the body I have to live it in? We may not be able to control the clock like we'd like. We may not be able to eliminate deadlines. We may not be able to remove every demand from our lives, but we
Mhm.
can begin noticing when urgency has moved from our schedule into our bodies.
Mhm.
And maybe slowing down isn't about doing less. Maybe it's about giving the body an opportunity to learn, I'm here, I'm safe enough in this environment, in this moment, and I don't have to rush through it.
Mhm.
So, as Tracy said, you don't have to race your life to prove that you're living it.
Mhm.
Sometimes regulation begins when the body finally realizes we have time to be here.
Mhm.
So, if this conversation resonated with you, we would love to hear from you. Where are you rushing when there's actually no emergency?
Mhm.
And what happens inside when you slow down? Share your experience in the comments. And if you know someone who seems to be living permanently on fast forward,
Mhm.
warp speed, share this episode with them. Like, comment, share. That's how the algorithm begins to fall in love with us.
Mhm.
So until next time, keep regulating and keep rising. And remember, regulation is the path to liberation. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.